Well, hello everyone, and again, welcome to another live this afternoon, and we'll have a little bit of a roll call, a different time here, so we'll see who's on with us today, see if our regulars are on, if they could make it. Andrea, well, good afternoon. Jen, good afternoon from Cape Breton and Rosa. We appreciate you guys. Maryland, PEI. Carrie in Nebraska. Linda, good afternoon. And Norma from Texas. Chilliwack, BC. Sandy. Micheline, good morning. Wendy, good morning. And Georgie, Halifax, Nova Scotia. Rhonda, good afternoon. Donna, Park Hill. And Jeanette from our staff. Karen, good from Muskoka. Catherine. And Parksville, British Columbia. Luella, West Tennessee. Sylvia, Barry, Nativity, Monette. Thanks for coming on, guys. Diane, how are you? Right from Sudbury. Brenda. And Beverly, and Gloria, San Antonio, Texas. Nick from our staff. Wanda from Ridgeway, and Stephanie, Forsyth, Georgia. Well, hello, Georgia. Ann, Manitoba. Diane, Ottawa. Good afternoon. Rosemary, Moncton, New Brunswick. Joanne, Bruno, how are you? Catherine, good afternoon from Newfoundland. And Rita from Ontario. Sue, Monique. Guys, we appreciate you. Hi, Morris. Good afternoon. How are you? Diane. And IT from Unionville. And Fran from Orangeville. Julie, good afternoon. I almost said good morning. Laura, Barbara, Atlanta, Georgia is well represented today. And Lori says she's in Donna, Texas for 3 months. Good afternoon, Rosa. We appreciate you guys. Susan, here we go. Okay, guys, Olive, right from Timmins, and Leela, hello. And Deborah. Okay, what I want to do, and I might do it all week, actually. I'm thinking about it. Vitamin D myths. And what I mean is I might do the 2 most common myths this week. Sort of been looking at that. But I get questions almost every day about vitamin D. First of all, how much should I take? My doctor says to be careful. Yada, yada, yada. All about vitamin D. And vitamin D, as you guys well know, sun, steak, and steel. I should have an update in the next few days as to when our new book is coming out, Sun, Steak, and Steel. Okay? Vitamin D myths is what we're going to do this afternoon. Okay? Now, the first question we always get asked about vitamin D, since it is fat soluble, the body stores it. Well, the body stores all vitamins, okay? Even if they're water soluble. Like vitamin B12 is water soluble, right? But you still store some in your liver. Like you never get toxic from it. But the question is always asked about vitamin D. Well, how much, and how much is going to cause toxicity? Do you know that there's actually been studies done on toxicity and vitamin D? Okay. So here's the research. Here's the research. It will take 50,000 units, 50,000 IUs a day, every day for 6 months. Who does that? Nobody does that. And that's what it takes to be toxic from vitamin D. Now, I'm not suggesting that anyone come even close to that number. But I want to say this too. I have never, ever, and I was in practice for 46 years plus, ever come across a physician who has seen vitamin D toxicity. Now, they talk about it. Health Canada talks about it. The FDA talks about it. Physicians talk about it. But they haven't seen it. Like, it's not like the waiting rooms are full of people. Oh, I know why you're here. Your vitamin D is toxic. So what happens if you get toxic on vitamin D? Well, they say it can create kidney stones. Well, I'm going to tell you something. That's a myth. You know what creates kidney stones? You know what? Oxalates. You know what oxalates are? They're from veggies. And fructose. Because they're going to create uric acid stones in your kidneys. You can get gout, but you can also get, you got two types of stones in your kidney stones. One of them is calcium, okay? Calcium stones, oxalates, or the other one is uric acid. The two types of stones. Neither one of them is caused by vitamin D. Now listen, I guess it could happen. I guess it's possible. But it's a myth. And the reason it's a myth is because, look, the calculation on vitamin D was wrong from the beginning. It was bad math. I really go into some detail in my new book about the boo-boo they made on vitamin D. And they've been scared skinny ever since. They scared people about vitamin D. Your vitamin D. And it's because it's fat soluble. It's because the math was bad right from the start. And therefore, it really became a monster, vitamin D toxicity, and it wasn't true at all. As a matter of fact, and I've been very, very consistent about this for many, many, many years, is that when you have a lack of vitamin D, son, you are in trouble. Cancer, cardiovascular, brain, autoimmune, inflammation. As a matter of fact, we wrote an email about vitamin D and how it is an all-cause mortality when you're low in it. I mean, if you are low in vitamin D, you're going to die young. It's just about conclusive. So there's a lot of myths about vitamin D. Here's another one. Okay? Here's another one. Okay? So we talked about the myth of it being fat soluble and toxic. It's not that it isn't fat soluble, it is. But here's what that means, fat soluble. Okay? The more fat you have, the more vitamin D you need. That's a fact. There's a couple of things that you're extremely low in vitamin D, almost invariably. If you are obese, you need a lot more vitamin D. 2, if you have dark skin. If you have dark skin, you need a lot more vitamin D than me. Okay? So anyone that's indigenous, anyone that is African American or African whatever, or Indian, like East Indian, Mexican, they need more vitamin D. They're dark. They have dark skin. They're pigment. And of course, think about it. God gave them a protection. You have skin. You have darker pigment. It's a protection against the sun. The problem is that most people, and I mean this, when they have dark skin and they are have extra weight packed on, especially, they're in deep doo-doo when it comes to vitamin D. And vitamin D does so many things inside your body. I mean, we talk about it all the time. From your immune system doesn't work without vitamin D. And if you think that I'm fudging about that, well, when you have the flu season, right smack dab in it right now, right? Why is that? Why is the flu season, the cold season, why doesn't that happen in the summer? It's not that you couldn't possibly get the flu, get a cold, right? In the summer, it happens, but it's rare. I mean, even, that's the first thing you learn in public health. Even they admit it. Oh, but the flu season's coming. And they never, ever, 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 ever talk about your immune system and how important it is to keep that in shape. And the first thing you want to do with your immune system is get your vitamin D levels up. Listen, and when your vitamin D is in the 400s in Canada, or let's say 150 in the United States, or 200 even in the United States, it's rare, but it does happen. Well, what happens? That, you have high levels, your doctor will just about pass out. But that doesn't make you sick. It just usually means there's a couple of things going on. One, your liver is usually gummed up. Fatty liver. Lots of medications will increase your levels of vitamin D, and that doesn't mean you're in good shape. It just means that it's a side effect of some medications. Blood pressure medications, diuretics can do that to your vitamin D. So there's a lot of myths. One of the other myths is, I can eat my vitamin D every day. Well, I guess if you were an Inuit and you ate blubber every day, and you ate cod liver oil every day, if you did that every day, I guess, because one thing about vitamin D levels, when it comes to food, most people just can't eat enough vitamin D. They can't eat it. The best source of it, of course, is the sun. And I'm going to tell you something. I talk to people all the time, and I mean this, that are scared of the sun. And you know what? I mean, when I tell people, look, you shouldn't be scared of the sun. Don't go burn in the sun, but you need sun, okay? Because you're not going to get enough vitamin D from food. Now, I understand that the Inuit, we used to call them Eskimos, that live in the north, I mean, they never see the sun, right? And if they do, I mean, it's 50 below zero. So how do they get vitamin D? Well, they eat a lot of blubber, seal, cod liver oil, Cod liver oil has vitamin D in it. It's not the highest source of vitamin D, but it's a source. And vitamin A. I like cod liver oil, by the way. Okay? So the myth is, I'm just going to eat my vitamin D. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. And, you know, if you're in the sun, I used to tell all my Floridian friends, my Arizona friends, you know, there's really only, and California, I guess, there's only 2 or 3 places in the winter that you're going to see enough sun to give you vitamin D. Florida, maybe Texas, Arizona, California, New Mexico, I guess. Give me a couple of others, maybe. Maybe. Right? But I'm big on supplementing with vitamin D. If you're not sure you're not getting enough, you need to supplement with vitamin D. Now, I can't tell you legally, I can't tell you how much to take. I can't. It's just the way the rules are. But I can tell you how much I take. Okay? Now, when I can see the sun, and I get in the sun, remember, vitamin D has to come in on your arms, your forearms. I mean, the best solar panels that you have. You got solar panels everywhere. On your eyes, you got solar panel. Your brain has a solar panel. Okay? Your eyes, they're not so much looking for vitamin D, they're looking for melatonin. Your body, the sun comes into your eyes. That's why I tell people, for about 15, 20 minutes, don't put your sunglasses on. I mean, don't go out and, Dr. Martin says I can look directly in the sun. No, I didn't say that. I just said, let that bright sunshine, you're going to get melatonin, a powerful antioxidant, a powerful sleep aid. Powerful. It really is. That's why you feel so much better when you're out in the sun. That's why you even feel better when it's a sunny day in the middle of winter. Even at 30 below, you still get some melatonin. You're not getting vitamin D, but you're getting melatonin. So I can't tell people, I can't tell them how much individually they have vitamin D, how much you should take. But for me, I'm usually somewhere between 4,000 IUs and 8,000 IUs. January, bad month. You know how many people have told me they got a real bad bug this year and they were sick as dogs? And this is the time of the year, my friend. February, a little bit less. You start seeing a little bit more sun. But those dark months, I always call, December, January, February, they're the dark months. And you need vitamin D. So for Dr. Martin, personally, I take about 4,000, 8,000 IUs a day. Okay? Sometimes 10. Can I tell you about the vitamin D hammer? At the first sign of a cold, and this research was done by a colleague of mine. I call it the vitamin D hammer. Hammer the vitamin D at the first sign of a flu or a cold. Really important. Hammer. Okay? With a higher dose. But again, it's very difficult for me to speak on this venue and tell you exactly for you. But the other myth is you don't need to get your vitamin D tested. That's a myth. And I know doctors are reticent to test vitamin D. That's too bad. That really is. It's just because they're training They don't understand the significance of vitamin D. They don't get it. They don't get the memo because they haven't been taught in medical school that you are a human solar panel, that every cell in your body needs vitamin D. Your T cells, your Navy SEALs of your immune system, those first responders, they don't work without vitamin D. They don't work without vitamin D. And you almost got to bring a physician to a dentist and drill their teeth without anesthetic to get them to test your vitamin D. Unless, our province in Canada, I was so upset. This happened 10 years ago, maybe even more than that now, where they delisted the testing of vitamin D, meaning that in order to get a vitamin D test that the government pays for, in Canada, we have a healthcare system. And if you get a blood work done, you don't have to pay for blood work unless you want vitamin D tested. Unless the doctor puts, I'm suspicious of menopausal osteoporosis. That is so stupid, I can't get over it. It frustrates the living life out of me. Here is a test that can save your life. Here is a test for all-cause mortality. Here is a test to see how your immune system is working. Here is a test. Yeah, it's good for your bones too. Vitamin D is good for bones. So yeah, that's all right. But why don't, you want to measure your immune system? What test is better than taking a vitamin D levels? But, it's not important to get your vitamin D. We don't do it. Who's Dr. Martin, that quack? I get a migraine when I think about it. This is a test that should be given to every man, woman, and even child. At least once a year should have a vitamin D, dehydroxy 25 blood serum test. It can save your life. I was talking to a cancer patient the other day, and I said, I need your vitamin D levels. What? Vitamin D and cancer? Yeah. I want to know what your vitamin D levels. Well, my doctor won't order it. Well, then tell your physician, and you can actually order vitamin D tests online, by the way, in the United States, and I'm sure you can in Canada too. I know if you have to pay for it, and it's stupid, but you know what, guys? I highly recommend getting your testing done because I can tell you this. I'm going to tell you this. When your vitamin D in the United States, I like it to be 60, between 60 and 80, and for cancer, even up to 100. Okay? U.S. numbers. That translates, a minimum of 150, 160 to 200 to 250 for cancer in Canada. Research has been done that proves if your vitamin D levels are optimized, not just bare bone minimums, it's all right. No. You want it to be optimized. And what they've shown, when you are optimizing your vitamin D levels, your ability, your immune system's ability to fight viruses, bacteria, cancer cells is increased 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60%. Yep. There's been a lot of studies, by the way, on vitamin D. Okay? There really has been. Now, you won't see too many of them unless you watch this program. But vitamin D has been researched. They should do even more, but there's no money in it. There's no money in vitamin D. Okay? There's no money. Nobody can patent the sun. Okay? You can't patent it. I was watching a bird the other day, and it kind of made me laugh a little bit. Because this bird, it's a bigger bird. I don't even know what kind of bird it is. I mean, it looks like it's like a prehistoric bird. And it's got its big wings. You know, it doesn't look too big till it spreads its wings. My word, that's a big bird. And the sun's out, and it's spreading its wings to the sun. And I watched it. And I said, you know what, Big Bird? You remember Big Bird in, what was it in, the Cookie Monster and Big Bird? I said, under my breath, Big Bird, you're smarter than most people. Because most people are scared of the sun. They're scared of it. And if they go in the sun, they want to lather up with sunscreen. Do you know how many sunscreens have been recalled by the FDA? I'd recall all of them if it was left up to me. You put heat, you combine heat with chemicals, never ends well. Doesn't end well. And I've been saying that for 50 years. Your sunscreen with the sun on your skin, a formula for disaster. And I know, okay, I know I'm in the minority. I know that, dermatologists and others, stay out of the sun. And if you're going to get in the sun, wear a sunblock and, make sure it's a 50 SPF or whatever they call it and blah, 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 blah. I know, I see it all the time. And these poor people are walking around and they got no vitamin D and they don't know why. They don't know why. They're so low when we test. And I see that every day when you send me in your blood work. Man, we're 90% of the population close to it would be low levels. Never optimize vitamin D. Yeah. Okay. And by the way, with kidneys, because somebody said about kidney stones, and I talked to you about oxalates and calcium stones and uric acid stones. But I'm going to tell you how you get those stones too, by the way, if you're low in vitamin D. Very, very common when you're low in vitamin D to get kidney stones. Not high in vitamin D, low in vitamin D. I can't think of any area of your body that doesn't need vitamin D. I can't think of one. And remember, if it's the dead of winter and you can't get, your arms is where your best solar panels are, so are your legs. That's why wearing shorts or whatever, of course, in the summer. In the winter, what are you going to do if you live in Canada? You ain't wearing your shorts. Okay? So then you're supplementing, but you still get melatonin. You're still getting melatonin. If you get outside and enjoy the sun, even if you said, get outside, Dr. Martin, when it's 30 below. Hey, Us Canadians, we're pretty tough. Hey, I grew up and some of you are on today, all of us on today, from Timmins. I grew up in Timmins. 40 below was nothing, man. We'd have that every day in January, it seems. We'd be lucky to get a day that wasn't 40 below. And we still went out and played hockey. We still went out and did sliding and whatever else we did. When I got older, I had a snow machine. 40 below, yeah, it's cold. You didn't want to have one little bit of skin exposed. Let me tell you that. Let me tell you that. Okay, guys, so those are some of the myths about vitamin D. Don't believe it. Don't believe the lie about vitamin D. Everybody and their dog needs vitamin D. I take between 4,000 and 8,000 IUs, especially when I'm not in the sun. Okay? That's me. That's what I take. Okay? Love you guys. Talk to you soon.